Hey there, it's Peach, and today joining me is Evan and my adorable cat, CJ. So, today will be dolls and their backstories, and it's going to be the Evan Emberland edition. So, Evan is one of my oldest standing characters, as I've mentioned quite a few times. I've had him for, gosh, I believe I was in middle school, and I'm halfway through college now, so it's been a very long time, and he's undergone many changes. But now he's basically in his cemented personality and cemented character. So Evan is aged several different... So Evan's age varies based on the point in the roleplay or story, but this doll depiction depicts his 20 to 22-year-old self. He was born in Britain, but he was raised pretty much around the world because he was kidnapped when he was an infant. He has blonde hair and blue eyes. He is human most of his life, but he does end up a vampire by his mid-20s. He's bubbly and kind-hearted, and he's also very creative. He designs his own clothing line, so he is a self-proclaimed fashionista, and he owns his own fashion line and a few boutiques, so that's how he makes his income. He's not very smart because he's never had any formal education, so he lacks in some areas, like he can't write, he can't read. He tries to hide the fact that he can't write and read because he's embarrassed. He was an infant. He was kidnapped by a vampire association called the Court. This family has a vampire line, and it is necessary for his body to be used as a reincarnation device. So the head of the Court, and he wants to be stronger, so he wants to take on a youthful body so that he will have more power. The Court leader is actually Evan's ancestor, who has lived for a very long time. And he is very power-thirsty and power-hungry. Evan has a special ability to be able to sense emotions, so he can tell when someone's feeling happy, when they're feeling sad, when they're thinking negatively or positively. And the head of the Court is so greedy, he just wants all power. So he's looking for Evan's power. Additionally, Evan has recessive vampire genes, and what that means is that if he is ever bitten and changed into a vampire, if he does not get blood that he thirsts for, that he will become another form of vampire that has no mind, no ability to rationalize, and that vampire will just attack and kill everything in sight just to have blood. So he has a gift that the head of the Court, who goes by the name of Richter, wants to take control of. So he is targeted. However, someone from within the Court ends up leaving the Court and takes Evan with him, and that individual works really hard to protect Evan from the Court because he not only raised Evan when he was a child, but also becomes Evan's partner, and he is a vampire from a different line. So Evan ends up together with the man that raised him, coincidentally, because vampires don't age. So as he was growing up, the man who took care of him, whose name is Leonard, for most of his life, they end up traveling together and going through a lot of hardships together. So when Evan is in his 20s, the two end up actually falling in love. So he ends up getting married to Leonard, and his last name goes from Evan Emberland to Evan Emberland-Watson. And he keeps his last name because of his fashion business. So as you can see, he's very, very well developed, and my other characters probably aren't going to sound as well developed as he is just because I've roleplayed him for such a long time. He can kind of be a crybaby in a sense of he'll pout if he doesn't get his way. He can be whiny at times. He doesn't like extremely spicy food. He prefers sweet food. He likes to bake. He's okay at cooking, but he prefers baking. He likes to make tea, particularly peppermint tea is one of his favorites to make for people to serve. He actually has a lot of self-confidence in a point where he knows like what he's capable of, and he's not afraid to use what he's capable of to advance what he needs to do in his life. But he's not so overconfident that he becomes cocky. He has a childish demeanor at times, and part of the reason is because he never really had education, so he doesn't really know a lot about responsibility. So granted, he does own a few boutiques and his own fashion line, and he designs clothes, but he doesn't really know the responsibility of paying bills or, you know, keeping track of his money, etc., because someone has always done it for him. So I would say that he probably couldn't live on his own because of his limitations. He never actually does go back to school, but Leonard actually helps him learn to read, which is a huge improvement and right, because that was so limiting for him. Wearing pajamas, so he loves designing pajamas for both men and women. His best friend, whose name is Sadie, will actually try on a lot of his women's wear, so he kind of makes the proportions off of her for the first original piece. He's not very good at controlling his ability. When he senses negative emotions, he collapses because he just can't control the sensation of what he's feeling. So in that sense, he does have a weakness. He is afraid of the vampire life. He doesn't like the idea of sucking blood or, you know, just doing the things that vampires must do to survive, travel dark. He does fear that life, so at first he is very, very afraid of being a vampire, but then over time he relaxes and is okay with it. It's kind of, Evan is kind of short for his age. He is 5'4" and weighs 120 pounds, so he's kind of a smaller, shorter kind of guy. Kind of has a knack to get to people because he can sense their emotions, so at times he can just flat out say what people are feeling, and I think that the reason why it's received negatively is because it frustrates people who are trying to hide something. But he always tries to do it in a very kind and positive way because he really does care about people and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to good people. That's just his mindset. So that's about it for Evan that I can think of off the top of my head. I hope that this doll story was interesting, and I would love to hear about your own doll stories. So if you have any doll stories of your own posted, please let me know, and I'd be interested to learn about your character. So stay tuned for the Town edition. Bye!